Can you hear me okay, George? Now, let's have it, Steve. What about this monster story of yours? Well, it's big and terrible. More frightening than I ever thought possible.
You realize your story's front page all over the country. We want to know what's being done about this monster.
Well, here's your headline.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Wrestling POV. I am your host, Tony Diaz, along with the Iceman, JoJo.
Welcome, all you wrestling fans.
That's right, Joey 2 times. And the third wheel, Rick Serrano III.
Hey, people.
And also our intern, Miguel Cole. How's he feeling today?
Mr. Tony, thank you for asking. I'm feeling so much better.
That's good. All right, so we got plenty to talk about today. Of course, we got the Exotic Adrian Street on the show today. Before we go into that, let's go into news. Take it away, Rick.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's start with some birthdays this week. Kevin Owens turns 32 years old.
Wow, young.
Yeah, he looks a lot older.
He did, yeah.
And speaking of a lot older, Arriba! Tito Santana turns 63 years old.
Wow, awesome.
He still looks good. He looks good.
He does.
Speaking of old looking, William Regal turns 48 years old. How is that possible?
Wait, he turned what?
48.
48?
How is that possible?
Yeah, he's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Wow, you know what? I didn't know.
He looks 63.
He does too.
Oh my goodness.
Holy cow, 48?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I never would have known. Serious.
And our last birthday of the week, the master of the shooting star press, Billy Kidman, turns 42.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, that's been
Billy Kidman.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
All right,
Awesome.
Jumping into the news. Miguel, you listening to this one? Okay, Mr. Rick, what is it now? Well, Ryback merchandise moved to the sale items on the WWE shop. So this is not a good sign for Ryback.
No.
Miguel, come back with my credit card. Mr. Rick, give me that.
Oh, boy.
Jeez.
I'm about to get a bill from WWE shop. All right, in more news, AJ Styles has been pulled from WWE live events this weekend. WWE is finally being cautious with their talent. Before they have a main event pay-per-view.
You don't think that's too cautious?
The way things have been going this year, they have to be.
True.
I mean, and also he's been nagging. He has a couple of nagging injuries, so the rest does him some justice. Does well for him.
Right.
Well, speaking of justice, WWE indefinitely suspends Adam Rose as he was arrested and booked on alleged charges of tampering with a witness, which is a felony, and battery domestic violence, a misdemeanor.
Wow.
WWE has zero tolerance for domestic abuse. It turns out that Rose and his wife got in an argument about the state of their marriage when he grabbed her by the face and pulled her close to his face, screaming at her. She then grabbed her phone to call the cops, but he took the phone away, and that's where the tampering charges come in. The judge was going to apply a restraining order, but his wife begged not to have this happen as they have a special needs child.
Yep.
Rose ended up paying a $1,000 fine and was ordered to meet with his pastor once a week. His next court date is scheduled for June.
Wow.
Now, I mean, we're all married. We all have our loved ones in our lives. Joe, you have a fiance, and we all have this relationship in which it's just that's something you just don't do. No matter how angry you get, no matter what happens, walk away, take a walk, do a couple of breathing, do some yoga, something. Man. That's just a no-no, man. Keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, that's I've always grew up like that, and it's unfortunate, because I like Adam Rose.
We probably won't be seeing him for a long time.
No. I mean, he's gonna have to do a lot of stuff to, you know what I'm saying? It's just, man, so sad.
Yeah. Well, that's all the news I have for this week.
All right, so now on the rumors. I got some good ones here. All right, so I mean, you know how Vince is always high up on these big guys, you know. Well,
He's always like that, yeah.
he's got a new target, Big Cass.
Oh, yeah.
And he wants to give Big Cass probably one of the biggest pushes, probably better than Roman Reigns, later on in his career, though. I mean, they still want to see where it goes with him and Enzo, and they possibly might want to change his name. Try to guess to what?
I know, I heard something about, I forgot what I read, but yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah, because they want to take the Big out instead of calling him Big Cass because there's already a Big E. They want to change it to either Colin Cass or Colin Cassidy.
That's what I heard.
So,
yeah.
We'll see. I mean, you can tell he's still new to the game and this and that. I like Big Cass because that fits him.
I love him. He's awesome.
It's okay to have more than one person with a name that starts with Big. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got the Big Show, you got Big E, and you got Big Cass. That's okay. Actually, see them three as a little stable, The Big Three, they can call them.
Big Three, there you go. Yeah.
All right, so now, but that's it for him. I mean, good. I hope so. I really like him. I think, to me, he looks like Edge,
Yeah, I
He has a similarity to Edge, so we'll see. All right, now, another rumor floating around is that Seth Rollins may get a huge push as a babyface when he returns. I mean, big-time babyface. So,
I'll take it.
Yeah, I would too, but nothing's set in stone. So it's like I said, it's just a rumor, and we'll see where it goes. I wouldn't mind it. I think he'll get a good pop.
Oh,
I mean, he did when they had the Slammies.
Yeah.
And remember when he came out, what a pop he had?
Oh, Jesus.
I was like, are you kidding me? Wow. All right, cool. cool. All right, so now this came out today. The rumors are running rampant on social media that Paige and Alberto Del Rio, you heard what I said, right? Yeah. Alberto Del Rio are now a couple.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
What happened to her? She has some fiance in Total Divas there.
Yeah, but you got to think that's from last year, I'm assuming. This is,
Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah, Alberto Del Rio. It has been confirmed, though, as of today. It has been confirmed by fans. I guess in the past few days, they've been spotted together at Magic Kingdom in Florida. And they were seen holding hands while Del Rio was pushing his child in a stroller. I didn't even know he had a child, but either way,
I thought he was married.
Me too. I thought that was. Yeah,
I never knew anything about his relationship, to be honest with you. So, I mean, this was a real shocker to me, And then, so now to even put it more into confirmation is that there was a photo of them two kissing.
Ooh, well, that kind of seals the deal right there.
And actually, we will put it up on the Facebook page so everybody can see.
Nice.
This gotta be a work, man. This gotta be for Total Divas or something.
You think so?
It's so odd. He's 38 and she's 23.
Yeah, but come on. Now look at Alicia Fox. Look at how old her man was. He was 56 and she was 28. There's a big difference there, too. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, with Paige and Del Rio's only 38, right?
Yeah.
And Paige is what, 23? That's
yeah,
that's
early
still
20s. Yeah.
But even still, though, I mean, you look at, not Paige, Alicia Fox and her man, it was
Who's she with?
Who, Alicia Fox?
Yeah.
I don't know. Some older dude. He lied. It was on Total Divas. He lied about his age or something like that.
Oh, really? I missed that one, I guess.
You didn't miss much, trust me. All right, so that's all I got for rumors. Joe, take it away.
Well, there's nothing really new on the injury report. I mean, pretty much the same people as last week. We're just hoping for the best, these guys, and hopefully we'll see them soon in the ring.
Yeah, I hope so, too, because actually another rumor I heard, too, was the fact that it was going to be Seth Rollins, Randy Orton,
Wyatt,
and who's the fourth?
Well, Cena.
John Cena.
Yeah. That'll be back in 30 days.
They're supposed to all come back soon, I guess at same time or something.
Coming back that early.
Yeah.
I thought he'd be out for a couple more months, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. So if anybody out there has any comments on what we reported today, you can happily join us on our Facebook page at Wrestling POV Podcast or submit them on Twitter at Wrestling POV. We're also on Instagram at Wrestling POV1. Check us out on iTunes, and we will post links this time. And just don't forget to hit the rating button, and also don't forget to subscribe. We also, and YouTube. I couldn't even say it right.
Give us a thumbs up.
And give us a thumbs up there. So, all right, now I've just been informed that we got Adrian Street on the line. We're gonna go to commercial, and then we'll be right back with Adrian Street. Can't wait.
Yes.
Cavalry Contracting is locally owned family business that takes pride in working on a higher standard, specializing in kitchen and bathroom remodeling. Check us out before you plan your next home or office project. For more information about our services, log on to calvaryserves.com. You can also like us on Facebook at Calvary Contracting. Give us a call at 518-669-6583. That's 518-669-6583. How can we serve you?
And we're back. Today, we have a very special guest, a wrestling legend who started his career back in 1957 by the name of Kid Tarzan Jonathan. He later took on the persona of a flamboyant, androgynous character in the 1970s and 80s, alongside with his manager and valet, Miss Linda, and took wrestling by storm. Everyone, please welcome the exotic one, Adrian Street. Welcome to the show, sir.
It's great to be on.
Thank you very much. All right, now, before we begin, I just wanted to say thank you very much for coming on the show. It's a real honor.
Well, thank you for asking me.
All right. Now, let's go back to August 8th, 1957, your first wrestling match. Tell us, what was on your mind that day? Were you nervous? I mean, were you excited, or?
I've never been more excited in my life, because this is something I dreamed of from the time I was about 11 or 12.
Oh, wow.
Of being a professional wrestler, and I've been told ever since I took interest in wrestling and decided that that's what I wanted to do. I was told I wasn't big enough to be a professional wrestler. You can't do it, and all that kind of stuff. And I was determined to actually accomplish my dream of being a professional wrestler. And the first time that I was actually on my way to the ring, I couldn't feel my feet touching the ground. I was that excited.
Now, but you were a big guy, though. I mean, even at age 16, or 15, actually. I saw a picture of you at age 15. You were really big and muscular. So you were working out at a very early age, right?
I started lifting weights when I was about 11 or 12. My older brother, I've got a brother 6 years older than myself, Terran, and he went to a bodybuilding competition that was in Cardiff, a town about 30 miles away from where I was born. Reg Parks was the guest poser there, and my brother bought back magazines and programs and things like that from it with these things on. As soon as I actually saw a picture of Reg Parks and the other bodybuilders, I wanted to be like that. So, I mean, I was just a kid then. I couldn't afford to buy barbells or dumbbells or anything like that, but my father had me digging rocks out of the garden, which had moved into a new home.
Wow.
And the garden was full of clay and rocks and all that sort of stuff. My father had me digging it all out. But anyway, I made myself, the first barbell I had was from an iron railing.
Wow.
And I fastened a bucket to each end and filled it up with rocks. That was my first barbell when I was about 11.
Wow.
Adrian, out of all your matches, you've had about 15,000 matches in your career. You have many opponents. Who would you say was your greatest rival in the ring?
Best technical wrestler that I've ever seen, heard of, or met in my life was a lightweight champion of the world. His name was George Kidd. He was from Dundee in Scotland.
Wow.
Okay.
And he was an absolutely fantastic technical wrestler. And when we met first, we actually hated each other's guts. I mean, the reason I hated him is he overheard me talking about him and got the wrong end of the stick, actually. I was complimenting him, but I got to the part of the story where he was actually appearing at an arena full of fans that didn't appreciate the really fantastic wrestler that he was. And I got to the part where these ignorant savages were actually booing him. Wow. And he turned around, walked across the ring, put his opponent's arm up, said, "Okay, you're the winner," and he walked out of the ring. He wouldn't wrestle in front of people that didn't appreciate his skill. And I got to that part of the story and he sort of overheard it, and he thought that I was making fun of him when I said that the crowd were booing him.
Wow.
And for years, if if he came down south, because they lived up north in Scotland, if he came down south, he told promoters down there, don't book Kit Tarzan Jonathan on the same shows as me. So it's like, if you book him, I won't wrestle.
Wow.
And that was it. I lost an awful lot of work in the early days when I really needed that kind of experience.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, I hated him, and I didn't know why. I didn't know that he'd sort of overheard that sort of thing. And if only he'd if only he'd overheard me, like a few minutes earlier, he would have heard me sort of paying him the biggest compliments that anybody could pay anybody. But anyway,
All right.
What actually happened one night, this is years and years later, we were on the same card. I mean, he had a lot of power in the business and everything like that, but when I started wrestling for the big time promotions, he didn't have the same kind of say and everything like that, who was supposed to be on the card and who wasn't. And I was wrestling up in Scotland for George Rel Wisco. He was part of John Promotions.
Mm-hmm.
They were running 4,500 shows a year in Britain at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wrestling on average 40 times in 1 month.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah, 40 times in 1 month I was wrestling in those days.
Jeez.
I'd be wrestling somewhere in the afternoon, and I'd have to rush from that show to another show. And sometimes I'd have tournaments, and I might be wrestling 3 or 4 times in one night in the same arena. But,
Wow.
you know, that's the way it was in those days. But anyway, we were both on the same card, wrestling for George Rel Wisco, and there was only 2 lightweight shows. There were only 2 lightweight contests on that particular show. There was me against the champion, Jimmy McKenzie, and George Kidd was wrestling against the I think he was a Belgian champion, Belgian or Dutch, I can't remember now, Frank Dont. And anyway, he didn't want George Kidd didn't want to wrestle with Frank Dont. I mean, he had a special way of doing things and everything like that, and he didn't know this guy or anything like that, and he just wasn't willing to wrestle him. So he called George Rel Wisco. He said, George, he said, you're going to have to order the card around, he said, because he said, I'm not wrestling with that guy.
Oh, wow.
And obviously, I mean, they couldn't put him on. They couldn't put him on with the Scottish champion because they were both Scottish, and George Kidd would have got no glory. I mean, being a world champion, he would have got no glory out of beating up Jimmy McKenzie.
Mm-hmm.
So George Rel Wisco said to him, George, he said, all the other guys are like big heavyweights. He said, you can't possibly wrestle one of them. I mean, they were like 300-pounders.
Wow.
He said, and you can't wrestle with Jimmy McKenzie. He said, the only other one is Adrian Street. Oh, I'm not wrestling with him. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I purposely picked up my bag and I walked as far away from him as I could, right across the outside of the dressing room. And I'm watching his face, and bearing in mind now, I really didn't like this guy. And the expressions on his face, I mean, he was in a dilemma. He was either going to have to wrestle with this Belgian or Dutch guy that didn't sort of know. I mean, he would have spoiled most of what George Kidd did in the ring and everything like that, because he was wanted to make a big name for himself. Everybody that came to Britain wanted to make a big name for themselves in those days. Anyway, like I said, I purposely went right across the other side of the dressing room and made George Kidd come to me.
Oh, wow.
And he came over and he looked at me, he says, well, he said, looks like you and I are going to be wrestling. I said, looks like you've done it. I'm bearing in mind now, this guy's hated my guts for about 8 years.
Wow.
So anyway, he said, this is going to be a dubious pleasure. I said, yeah, George, for the 2 of us. Anyway, we went in the ring, and I mean, the people didn't like me anyway, because I was already doing like a flamboyant sort of image.
Mm-hmm.
I was wearing sort of metallic capes in like a Union Jack design up in Scotland, and I mean, that was like waving a red flag at a bull, because you know, the nationalists up there really didn't like the Union Jack, and they didn't like the British, the English colours and everything like that.
Right.
We had a match, and I mean, this, like I say, I mean, at that particular time in my career, this guy forgotten more about technical wrestling than I ever dreamed of. I mean, I appreciated it, and I knew what he was kind of doing to an extent, but I mean, I couldn't emulate what he was doing in those days.
Right.
But I went in there, and I tell you what, as far as like the roughhouse, I might not have been a wrestler he was, that George Kidd was, but I could fight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I could fight. I've always been a fighter. I'm not talking about boxing. I'm not talking about wrestling. I'm talking about fighting.
Right.
I've never met anybody I couldn't beat in a fight. Anyway, because I've always said, doesn't matter how you win as long as you cheat. When we got back in the dressing room, George Kidd came tearing across the... I said, look out, here it comes. And I got my fist ready and my boot ready. He came tearing across. He grabbed over me by the hand and shook my hand. He said, that was fantastic. He said, I'm running shows myself. Like, he was a promoter in Dundee, and he had some other big shows up there. He said, will you wrestle for me? He said, I'll pay you £50. Bearing in mind, in those days, I was earning about £8 or £9 a match, maybe £10 if I was wrestling with somebody who were main event or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'll pay you £50. He said, if you're coming up from London, he said, you can take your pick. He said, I'll fly you up. I mean, nobody flew to wrestling shows in those days.
Right, yeah.
He said, if you come in from London, he said, I'll fly you up. He said, or if you prefer to come by train, he said, I'll pay for your sleeper so you can sleep all the way back home again.
Wow.
And I'd do whatever suited me, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, that was it. When I wrestled for other promoters against George Kidd insisted that I got at least £50 for the contest.
Oh, wow.
When I wrestled with George Kidd for, when I challenged him for his title and everything like that in Dundee, he paid me £100 a match.
Oh, wow.
If I had a match for any other promoters, he insisted that I got £100. Wow. And all my other expenses. And from £10 to £100 in those days was really something.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Now, George Kidd took me under his wing because, like I said, he was the best technical wrestler I've ever seen in my life. Now, the thing is, I had a manager back in those days, or back in the early days when I first started wrestling for John Promotions. His name was Mike Dimitri, and he was world junior heavyweight champion. And he was a great technical wrestler. In actual fact, as far as like leg wrestling and everything like that was concerned, he was the best there was. He was that good actually that in George Kidd's early days, he actually went all the way to France, where Mike Dimitri was touring at that particular time. He went all the way to France and travelled everywhere with Mike Dimitri, whether he was wrestling on the same card or not, just to learn from him.
Right.
Now in Britain, I'm sure you've heard of the Snake Pit. Billy Riley had a gym in a grimy little mining town in Lancashire called Wigan. The Snake Pit was the mecca of straight professional wrestling.
Really?
Back in those days. He actually went there. He lived with Billy Riley for a long time. George Kidd was absolutely obsessed with being the best technical wrestler he could possibly be, and he got to be the best technical wrestler in the world.
Right.
Like I say, I've had 15,000 contests. I was wrestling professionally for 57 years.
Wow.
And even before I was a wrestler, back from, back in the very, very early 50s, like 50, 52, 53, I was interested in wrestling. And I did understand to an extent what I was looking at. And like I said, I've never seen anybody in my life that came close to touching George Kidd.
Wow.
Now, talking about where I learned to wrestle and how I got to be as good a wrestler as I was, I never ever went to the Snake Pit. A lot of people accused me of going there, and I could show off and lie and said, oh yeah, like I went, I'd never even seen the place. But the business was full of wrestlers from Wigan. And
Really?
like I say, I was wrestling about 40 times a week, and you could bet your life that a half a dozen of those in 1 week, at least, if I was lucky, would be from Wigan. You know, if I only wrestled with 6 in a week, there'd be. Now, if you couldn't take it, they wouldn't give it to you. You had to learn. You had to learn to be one hell of a shooter, or they would leave you. They would leave you in a heap in the middle of the ring.
Wow.
I'll give you an example of how good they were. There was a wrestler from Belgium named Karel Istas.
Okay.
Karel Istas was 15 times Greco-Roman champion of Belgium, 15 times Catch-as-Catch-Can champion of Belgium.
Wow.
He represented Belgium, I think, in 1952 in the Olympic Games. But apart from that, he was what they call a Dockland champion. He used to go down on the docks and fight down there. I mean, if you see Charles Bronson in Hard Times,
Yep.
that's the kind of fighting that they did. Anything went. You could gouge, you could kick, you could bite, you could do anything that you wanted to do, you could do. And he was a Dockland champion.
Wow.
So, I mean, that guy was tough. Anyway, he came over to Britain to wrestle, and the first thing he said was, "Where's Billy Riley's gym?" He intended going there and showing Billy Riley and Billy Riley's wrestlers what wrestling was all about. Anyway, he went there and got his ass kicked. There wasn't anybody. There wasn't anybody in Billy Riley's gym that couldn't beat him.
Wow.
Everybody. Bear in mind now, that's where people like Billy Robinson came from.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
So he went there, got his ass kicked, and he said himself that he threw everything he thought he knew about professional wrestling out the window, and he trained personally under Billy Riley for 8 years.
Wow.
He went from Britain to Canada and then into the States and changed his name from Karel Istos to Carl Gotch.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Hey, Adrian, you mentioned.
You get my drift?
Yeah.
Carl Gotch, one of the best shooters
Yeah.
that's ever been in this country.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Adrian,
Joe's got a question for you.
Yeah, you mentioned George Kidd as being one of the best technical wrestlers, but I also read in one of these bios on you that Bret Hart and Davey Boy Smith and the Macho Man were also some of your toughest opponents. Is that still true today?
Well, I'll tell you, Bret Hart is a good wrestler. Randy Savage was tough, but he wasn't a wrestler.
Really?
No.
I watched that match with you. You beat the crap out of him.
You see contests. You see contests that I had with Randy Savage, and you'll see me running away from him and hiding behind Linda, even putting Linda in harm's way.
Yeah.
The reason I did that is because if I'd gone in the ring and actually wrestled him, I would have buried him and showed him out because he was a non-wrestler. Wow. He was a tough guy, and I tell you why, if he got into a scrape, he'd give most people a bloody good hiding. But him, like a lot of other wrestlers about at that time, they weren't wrestlers. They didn't know, they didn't. I could have gone in the ring and beaten him. As far as wrestling was concerned, it wouldn't have taken me 2 minutes to bury him.
Well, I tell you, the match that I saw that you had with Randy Savage, you pretty much beat him to a pulp.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I did first of all to build up the interest was to make everybody in the arena think that I was terrified of him.
Huh?
I'd run away from him, I'd hide behind Linda, I'd do anything like not to come to grips with him until I was forced to, and then when I was forced to, and he sort of got a few cracks in and everything like that, then, it was only then I sort of shocked the people by turning him inside out. And I did that with a lot of people. I mean, there was lots of people that the people really like. I mean, there's Hulk Hogan and various people like that. Jimmy Valiant, I love Jimmy Valiant. He was a great asset to the business.
Yeah, he was.
But just like Hulk Hogan, if those guys were hung for being wrestlers, they would have died innocent.
Adrian, was there any wrestler that you wish you could have wrestled when you were wrestling?
There was a wrestler called, another guy from Wigan, called himself Jack Dempsey. I know
Like
Jack
the boxer?
Dempsey was an American boxer, but
The boxer?
This guy's real name was Tommy Moore, but he called himself Jack Dempsey.
Oh, okay.
He was a British welterweight champion, and he was in my estimation, the best wrestler I never wrestled.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
And where was he from?
Also, I would have liked to have wrestled with Ric Flair, but he didn't want to do it. And if I'd been Ric Flair, I wouldn't have wanted to either.
Why didn't he want to wrestle you?
Well, one night I was wrestling against Wahoo McDaniel,
Another great one.
and I was great friends with the Road Warriors and Paul Ellering.
Nice.
And that night I was wrestling with Wahoo McDaniel, and they getting on to me, and they're saying like, oh, you know, they were saying in front of Wahoo McDaniel, oh, he says, they said like, oh, you know, don't forget to give Wahoo a big kiss.
Oh,
And
jeez.
Wahoo said, you come near me, he said, with a kiss, he said, you even think about it, he said, and, you know, it's going to be on. Anyway, I'm in the ring wrestling away and everything like that. Then all of a sudden, I caught sight of the Road Warriors and Paul Ellering standing on the ring apron, and they sort of signaled to me, go on, and they sort of pouting their lips and everything like that. Go on. Anyway, Wahoo grabbed me in a bear hug, and I just couldn't resist it. I grabbed hold of him by his head, and a big smack like this. And I tell you what, talk about doing a war dance.
Oh boy.
He let loose and hit me with a chop. I mean, I tell you what, he must have bruised my backbone.
Oh, man.
That's some chop.
Well, you know, the slightest hit of pain, oh my bloody hacking goes to cock. I tell you what. I grabbed hold of him and give him a 5 or 10 minute wrestling hold. And he said it best, actually, when he came back out of the dressing room, the Road Warriors were laughing about it. They said, oh, that was great. He said, you bastards, like, he said, you're the one who put him up to it. He said, I chopped him, he said, as hard as I could bloody do it, he said, but, he said, damn me, that little limey bastard turned me into a pretzel. He said, that's the first time I've had a view of my own arsehole. Anyway, they were kind of complimenting me on my wrestling, and we were all laughing like so. Ric Flair came over, and one of the Road Warriors said, "Damn," he said, how the hell do you look, Adrian? And I think it was Paul Ellering said, I tell you what, he said, I'd pay a match. He said, I'd buy a ticket. He said, to see you wrestling with Ric Flair. And Rick was saying, yeah, it'd be a good match and everything. But there was something that he used to do at that particular time, and I thought to myself, well, I'd like to put him in the picture now, just to let him know that if we did have that contest, that it wouldn't, you know, that I wouldn't take kindly to something that he used to do. At that particular time, he would wrestle away with somebody, then all of a sudden he'd go like, woo, now I'll take you to school. And I mean, he would wrap the guy up that he was wrestling with, and that'd be like the beginning of the end. So my response to that, when Ric Flair said, yeah, he said, we'd have a hell of a match. I said, we'd have a hell of a match. I said, until you come to that bit where he went, woo, now I'm going to school. I said, I'll take you to college, mate.
Oh, man, that's good.
That's awesome.
He had a lot of pull with the promotion we were wrestling for. I mean, he was like, what was the promoter's name? He was like Jim Crockett's son. I mean, he was like adored by the promoter. So I mean, he wrestled whoever he wanted to wrestle, and didn't wrestle with whoever he didn't wrestle. So needless to say, I would have liked to have wrestled with him, and I would have showed him what college life was like instead of weird stuff. But it was never to be.
Nice.
And like I say, I don't blame him.
I would have loved to have seen it. Now, I got another question for you. In 1969, you met your wife now, Miss Linda. How did you guys meet, and how did you convince her to be your valet or manager, so to speak?
Well, that part of it was a long story, but how we met was I just bought my first house in London, and I was like, wanted to decorate it myself and do it in my own way. And there was like a recess on one side of the fireplace that I built like a 75-gallon aquarium into, and I'd gone to the Ideal Home exhibition in Earls Court Road in London, and they had all kinds of absolutely fantastic new ideas and what have you. And while I was walking around, there was one exhibition that showed marine tropical fish. I'd seen tropical fish before, and I'd admired them and liked them and everything like that. But the only time that I'd ever seen marine tropical fish before was in aquariums, like aquariums in zoos and in zoological gardens and things like that. I'd never seen them where people, where regular people could actually have them. And as luck would have it, the stall that was represented in the exhibition was only a few miles away from where I lived. Yeah. So I went there to sort of check them all out, and who should actually serve me but Linda. Linda has always been into critters and things like that. She's worked a lot with horses. She adores horses. She used to teach people to ride. In actual fact, she taught Michael Caine to ride for his role in the movie Zulu that actually made him into a star.
Wow.
And there's various, I could tell you a whole sort of lineup of British actors like Terence Stamp and James Villiers and people like that who she actually taught to ride way back in the time. But anyway, like I say, she was really into critters, and she's worked in a couple of different zoos, Crystal Palace Zoo and Battersea Park Zoo. She's always worked with critters and things like that, but this particular time she was working in this place with these marine tropical fish, and she used to serve me when I bought them. And I always said that I think she sold me the sick ones, so they died, and I'd have to go back and get more, So we kept meeting that way and everything like that. And I tried to woo her for a long time, and for a long time she had more sense than. I mean, we really got on well together, but as far as like going out with me is concerned, she wouldn't, but eventually she did. And we've been together ever since.
Wow. It's going 47 years, right?
But as far as wrestling was concerned, when I wrestled for joint promotions, I mean, they didn't use lady wrestlers or anything like that.
Right.
But I got to the stage where they weren't going to give me any more money per match. I was getting more and more money from them and everything like that, which I sort of used as a gauge to what I was actually worth in the business. But anyway, all of a sudden, out of the blue, the Wrestling Federation picked me up, and they told me that if I wrestled for them, they would give me half of what came in every night.
Wow.
There wasn't a wage. Whatever came in after expenses, they had to pay for the posters, the newspapers, and the rent on the arena, and the wages of the other wrestlers. But they said after that, the promotion and I would split the profits 50-50. So all of a sudden, I was earning like anywhere between 5 and 8 times more money than I was earning for the big time promotions.
Wow.
But the thing is, some of the main draws in those days were the lady wrestlers. Used to wrestle for the British Wrestling Federation. Uh-huh. And Linda said to me, she says, "Why don't you teach me to wrestle?" She said, "Because if one of the girls don't turn up, I can step in."
Right.
And in actual fact, that didn't make sense, because the thing is, if one of the main draws were the ladies and people came to see them, and one of the ladies didn't turn up, what could you do? I mean, the best thing you could do actually was to put one of the ladies on with one of the smaller male wrestlers. But the thing is, that isn't what the people paid for. But the thing is, I started teaching her to wrestle with that in mind. One night that actually happened, and she had her first professional wrestling match, and damn me, she was good. But then the thing is, obviously, she would be, because I was teaching her. I've always said the only thing that stopped me from being perfect is my modesty. But anyway, she turned out to be bloody good, and we turned her into a Red Indian. She was Miss Blackfoot Sue in those days.
Right.
I designed a buckskin dress for her, like with all the fringes.
Yep.
On there. And after we left Britain, I mean, almost every other bloody lady wrestler over there tried to jump on the bandwagon, like the Cherokee Princess and the Apache Queen, and I've forgotten how many different Red Indian women that they had over there after Linda left, because she made such a huge impression on that thing.
Wow.
But anyway, I mean, anybody that wants to know more about that, read my 5th book of Mike to You, And you read all about all the details about Linda and I met, how we got together,
Okay.
and how she became a professional wrestler. In actual fact, I've finished my 7th book now on my autobiography. So you got not only right up until the present time, but right from the time I was born in like wartime Britain. My father was a prisoner of war with the Japanese.
Wow.
My hobbies in those days was collecting unexploded bombs that would get stuck in the mud up in the swamps. It was amongst the hills and everything like that. Picking up pieces of German airplane that had been shot down the night before.
Wow.
And asking anybody with a uniform, when you go back, would you go and get my father? He's a prisoner of war with the Japanese. Anyway, when he finally came home, for whatever reason, my father didn't like me and I didn't like him. We hated each other.
What?
Wow.
He had me out of school working in a coal mine when I was 15. Hence the reason I ran away from home when I was 16 to become a professional wrestler. I didn't like working in the coal mine. It's dark down there and I was made to be seen.
Now,
Yes, you were.
Adrian, I'm glad you brought up your book. So you did come out with a 7th book. It's called Merchant of Menace. Now, after writing 6 books, was it easier to write the 7th book?
No, it wasn't. There was like a lot of heartfelt stuff in that I didn't know whether to include or whether not to include. I mean, for instance, back in 2001, I was diagnosed with throat cancer.
Oh, wow.
And the doctor told me, Dr. Lurton, he's the one who diagnosed it, when I went in to see him to get the results, he says, Mr. Street, I have some very bad news for you. He said, but I'm going to give it to you straight. You have a very malignant type of throat cancer. He said, you're not going to make it out of this. I suggest you go home and put your affairs in order. And I said, my response to him was, Mr. Lurton, I'm not going to die yet. I said, there's too many people in the world I haven't pissed off yet. And I think that attitude actually is something that makes it. If you got a positive out, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to live until I'm 100, even if he kills me.
Absolutely.
Now you still wrestled with that
But
with the
thing is,
cancer, right?
I did include that in the book actually because I think it will be inspirational to other people, and who knows? I mean, if they can adopt that same attitude, it may make a difference between them dying and not dying.
Yeah. Now you wrestled with when you had cancer, didn't you?
I did.
Wow.
Unbelievable, man.
That is the reason I don't have any hair now, actually.
Right.
I'll tell you what happened. I'm not bald, actually. I could grow my hair if I wanted to. But when I first started taking radiation and chemo, my hair just fell out in clumps. So I just got a razor out and took the rest off and what have you. But anyway, finally, when I more or less kind of beat it and I wasn't taking radiation and chemo anymore, my hair grew back, but it came back all kind of coarse and wavy, like almost curly. And I've always had straight hair.
You had straight hair,
The way my hair was. And if I can't have things the way I want them, then I don't want them. That's why I took the razor out and got rid of it.
There you go. And you officially retired in 2010, right?
No, 2014.
Really?
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah. I had my first pro contest in London, in, like you said, August the 8th, 1957.
Yeah.
And I had my last contest, June the 14th, 2014.
Wow. Impressive.
57 years as a professional.
Wow.
15,000 professional contests, and I've been world champion. I've held 5 different belts in 3 different weight divisions.
Really?
You know, I've been middleweight champion of the world, light heavyweight champion of the world, and heavyweight champion of the world.
Wow.
For various organizations.
That's impressive.
Adrian, I did read somewhere that your last match was in 2014, but do you still have that desire to wrestle in 2020?
No, I think I've had enough now.
You had enough of that, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, one reason is I don't admire the way wrestling is anymore. I mean, there are still, this is there's some great wrestlers out there, but unfortunately, the biggest promotion, and that is, in my estimation, that's not even a wrestling promotion. That is what I call a reality program with no bloody reality.
Wow. You know what? I agree with you. I really do.
You know, and I don't watch it anymore because the only reason I would watch it is the fact that Linda and I, our main business is manufacturing wrestling wear or wrestling or
gear,
clothes for like costumes for showbiz people. Linda and I created all the costumes for Mickey Rourke and all the other actors and what have you in The Wrestler.
Yep. You did Mick Foley's too, right? The Dude Love character?
Yeah, we made a lot of his stuff. He's a very good friend of mine, Mick. Nicest guy you ever wish to meet. I've never heard him say anything bad about anybody.
Wow.
He's a really nice, positive person. I love him to death.
Right.
Also, I was involved with the costumes and everything like that in another movie that I was in, Quest for Fire.
Quest for Fire.
John, Everett McGill, and Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman.
I was involved with that movie for about 2.5 years before they ever started shooting.
Wow.
You know, with the makeup, with costumes, and all that kind of thing. But anyway, talking about movies, let's talk about Joan Rand. I heard your interview with Joanne
Randalls. Yes. Yes.
I heard that for the first time only yesterday.
Oh, really?
And yeah, excellent.
So you should
tell you something. Both you guys are excellent interviewers. Actually, you ask a question and you give the person room to actually answer. I've been on with so many people and done so many interviews with people that like the sound of their own voice that much. You got to jump to get a word in edgeways.
That's true. Yep, absolutely. So now that we're talking about the movie, I mean, how do you feel about Joanne doing the film based on your life?
I think it would be great. And my oldest son.
Yep.
My oldest son is actually co-writing the script.
Oh, nice.
I was asked originally to co-write the script, and I said I'm too close to it.
Right.
Quite honestly, after you've written 7 books, I'm happy to advise and tell people exactly how I felt, or like the reason I did this, or the reason that was my attitude towards that. But quite honestly, after writing 7 books, I wouldn't know what should go in there and what shouldn't go in there. Obviously,
right.
I've written 7 books that could make 7 films. But if you gotta reduce all my stories to like 1-2 hour film script, then like I said, I wouldn't really know where to start. What I'm sort of concerned about really is I wonder who's going to play me.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Get the wrestling done, because there's been so many wrestlers, obviously, as you know, that have tried to sort of jump on the bandwagon and do my and sort of copy my persona.
Yeah. Goldust, he's one of them.
Goldust, that other fat idiot, Adrian Adonis, and
Adrian Adonis, that's right. Yeah,
you know, all those sort of things. Now, I'd say it's fairly easy to mimic my mannerisms.
Yes.
Anybody can do like pack their lips and kiss their opponent and sort of like drop a sort of lip wrist and all that kind of stuff. And maybe dance and prance about a little bit. But I've yet to see anybody imitate my wrestling skills.
That is true. Yeah, they do the character, but not your wrestling skills. I agree with that.
Yeah. Nobody can come close. And the thing is, I learned the hard way from the best in the business. And
yes,
I've got to say there are some great wrestlers in the States, but none of them could touch the best wrestlers in Britain.
Whoa, nice. I agree with that. I think some of the better wrestlers actually do come from out of the States. And but just to get back on the movie, how great is it that someone who wasn't a wrestling fan in Joanne Randalls stumbles across your story and says, I have to make a movie about this guy? How great is that?
Because I've had a very, very, very eventful life.
Yes, I agree.
Outside the ring as well as inside the ring. There's very few places I haven't been. There's very few things in my life that I wanted to do that I didn't do. And it's all through determination when I had all the cards stacked against me. And the thing is, I've never, ever... You know, there might be people that know more than we do.
Right.
Doesn't mean to say that they're right.
Yeah,
that's true.
I've proved that over and over and over and over again.
Yes, you have.
The thing is, all the coal miners, my father included, you can't be a wrestler. Little guys like you can't be a wrestler. Those guys are huge. They'll rip you in half. They'll sort of mess you up. They'll break your back. You know, you'll come scuttling home and all the rest of it. And everybody, including my own father, said the same thing. My father said the last day I worked in a coal mine, he'll be back. He likes his mother's cooking too much. And all the other wrestlers, yeah. Now, when I first went to London, even the other wrestlers told me, you'll never be a wrestler. You're too small. You're too small and you're too young. You're too small, you're too young.
Wow.
That's all they told me.
Proved them wrong, I'll tell you that.
You know, when I decided I was going to leave Britain and come to wrestle in the States, I was already 40 years of age.
Oh, wow.
I'd already had a 25-year wrestling career behind me. And all the other wrestlers said, you're too small, you can't go wrestle in the States. America's a land of giants. Have you seen the size of those bloody Americans? You know, they're bloody 6'6", 7 foot tall and everything like that. They all weigh 300 pounds, 400 pounds, everything out there. And they said to me, you're too small and too old. You're 40. You know, hang up your boots and forget about it. And quite honestly, I've had a longer and more lucrative and more satisfying career in the States than I ever had in Europe.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, I'm known in Europe now as Exotic Adrian Street. I never wrestled as Exotic Adrian Street until I first wrestled in the States.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When I wrestled in Mexico, they called me Exotico Adrian.
That was the name?
They didn't use the name Street because they said it didn't mean anything. So I was the Exotico Adrian. And when I left Mexico and came into the States to wrestle for Mike LaBelle, he brought me in because he heard I was doing fantastic business from down in Mexico. So it was Mike LaBelle that brought me in to wrestle for Hollywood Promotions. And when I came in, he called me Exotic Adrian Street. That was the first time I was ever called Exotic Adrian Street.
Oh, wow.
And by that time, I've been wrestling for about 26 years.
Unreal. I never knew that. I never knew that. Wow.
But I've been Exotic Adrian Street ever since.
Wow. Unbelievable. That is awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Now, I tell you, growing up watching you had, because I wrestled a little bit here, and I know once you hit the curtain, there's a certain switch, and then you become that character. You had two switches.
Exactly, you've got it.
But you had two switches. It was like the minute you came out, you were the exotic one, Adrian Street. That was the one character. And then the minute you started wrestling, you became a different character because you beat the crap out of them. It was a whole different Adrian when you would wrestle compared to when you would come out in the ring.
Exactly. What actually made my character work was mystery, for a start. Is he or isn't he?
Yeah, right.
I
Exactly.
purposely cause as much controversy and as much contrast as possible based on mystery.
Yeah.
Is he or isn't he? And everything I did was based on is he or isn't he and contrast.
Right.
I walked in and there was some commentator in Texas that sort of said it best. Hell, he said, here comes that Adrian Street to the ring. He said, damn. He said, when he walks to the ring, he looks like a French poodle. But damn, when he gets in the ring and that bell goes, he turns from a French poodle into a pit bull.
That's exactly what my point was.
Right there, yeah.
But that is exactly it. The thing is he or isn't he?
Right.
Mystery and contrast. That sort of be as effeminate, as pouty as possible, and don't touch me, like oh. But then when it came to it, I turned him inside out, upside down, and do exactly what I wanted to do with him. And I've never met anybody. I'll tell you something now. Talking about big wrestlers, right? Mm-hmm. Every territory I've been in, I'd go in there and there'd be some giant there that I'd be wrestling with that night. And they'd turn around and say to me, hey, we're wrestling each other tonight. Hey, how can a big guy like me lose to a little guy like you? My response to that was, don't worry about it. As soon as we get in there, I'll bloody well show you. Oh, man.
That's awesome. All right, Mr. Street, my final question. When the film is done, will you come back to the show?
Oh, damn, yeah. Of course, well, in actual fact, yeah, of course we will. We'll have a lot to talk about then.
Absolutely.
Hey, You said you're looking forward to seeing that movie that John Randall is making.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to seeing it too. I hope a lot of my music will be in it because I've got two record albums. Out, and do you know they're reissuing them on vinyl?
Yes.
There's a company in California called Burger Records. They're coming out pretty shortly. They're going to be putting them on iTunes as well, by the way. And
Nice.
There's another company in Britain that's bringing my music out on vinyl called Gods and Monsters. So look out for those too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I will. Yeah, because vinyl, they're bringing vinyl back. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Mr. Street, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much. Say hi to Ms. Linda for us, and we will keep in touch about the film.
Okay, great, mate. Bye, Tony, and bye, Rick.
All right.
And bye-bye, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Bye.
Cavalry Contracting is locally owned family business that takes pride in working on a higher standard, specializing in kitchen and bathroom remodeling. Check us out before you plan your next home or office project. For more information about our services, log on to calvaryservice.com. You can also like us on Facebook at Calvary Contracting. Give us a call at 518-669-6583. That's 518-669-6583. How can we serve you?
And we are back. Wow.
Oh my God.
That was such an awesome interview.
So good, man.
I mean, wow, the stories. I could have listened to them all day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I could have listened to them all day. My goodness, the Ric Flair story. I'm telling you.
Oh, my God.
Was that incredible or what?
That was
Holy
awesome.
jeez.
Amazing.
And of course, a big compliment to us for letting him talk.
Yes.
So go ahead, Rick.
But, you know, like, this man has paved the way for a lot of Hall of Famers and future Hall of Famers, and he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I know.
Hell, Ric Flair is in the Hall of Fame twice.
Twice, yeah.
Give Adrian Street one of your rings, especially since he didn't want to fight Adrian Street. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I mean,
And the guy has fought in over 15,000 matches, and he's not even on the network.
No.
What's going on there, man? I have to look on YouTube to find grainy videos, man. Like,
Yeah.
come on, WWE, get on it, man.
real grainy too, man.
Yeah,
I'm telling
man,
you.
he deserves better, man. Come
Yeah,
on.
he does. He really does. And I'm telling you that we'll start a petition. Shoot.
Yes.
It's like you said, Rick, 15,000 matches? Hello.
Yeah.
You know, come on.
Yeah.
Really?
It's gotta be done. It's gotta be done, people. All right, let's go straight to Raw notes. All right, I didn't have much on Raw. You know, there was only a few things I really focused on, and one of them was Big Cass in the beginning. Was it in the beginning? Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, after the rumors, what I had mentioned earlier, it looked like they are going to give him a little push now, which is, I mean, because Enzo, he's not going to be gone long.
Nah, I don't hope so.
You know what I'm saying? He should be back within like a week or two.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's kind of weird how they're going to do a little push on him now. But you know what? The thing is, a lot of people popped for him when he came out.
Oh, huge pop.
You know, he interrupted the highlight reel. And then now it's going to be Big Cass versus Jericho in the main event.
Now, did you notice that Big Cass lost his accent?
A little bit.
And like,
Yeah, it's like he lost it a little bit. But another thing you got to realize, too, is that he stopped shouting. You know, the one part for the SWAFT, he stopped shouting now. He just says it normal. He goes, and I only got 2 words for you. It's like, wait a minute. It sounded better when you were shouting it, man.
exactly. And I thought that was because of the vaudevillains, but because that, like, a couple weeks ago, he did it in this proper way. But this got to be like Triple H or somebody getting in his ear, like, listen, you sound too much like Billy Gunn or something.
Ooh,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, could be.
Could be, but I don't see Triple H telling him that. You know what I'm saying? That has to come from Vince. You know what I'm saying? That has to come from Vince. But I liked it that way. You know?
It was so much better.
Yeah, and not only that, it was, you know, people were hyped up for it. So yeah, that was your main event, though. It was Big Cass versus Jericho. I thought, I was like, all right, you know what? I can dig this. It's about time we have something different as a main event.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that caught my eye was the Baron Corbin versus Ziggler match. To me, in my opinion only, you guys can agree with me or not, but this should have been the match at Payback.
Oh, yeah, that was far more
You know what I'm saying?
It was far more better match.
I mean,
Yeah, Yeah, like they could have switched it. I would have had it him destroy him on Payback and then win by Schoolboy on Raw to build it. I agree with that.
You know
I
what I'm
think they should've
saying?
done
No,
that.
I mean, but that's why I mentioned about the whole, damaging to Baron Corbin on, at Payback if he lost. I mean, this time he won, but, still. You know what I'm saying? I just thought this should have been the match to really make him more dominant, I think.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that that's the end of it, too, but I'm not sure if it is, to be honest.
Oh no, Extreme
I hope they
Rules
move on,
definitely
yeah.
they're fighting.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Now, they are fighting in Extreme Rules?
Most likely. I mean, they're tied up 1-1 right now, so Baron
yeah,
Corbin's
that's
probably
right.
going to destroy him again.
I hope so.
Yeah.
The other thing that caught my eye was the Anderson and Gallows and the AJ versus the Usos and Roman Reigns in an elimination tag match. Now, I thought, obviously now they're calling themselves the Club.
So stupid, man.
You don't like it, huh?
Well, I think
No.
that's because they can't take the Bullet Club.
No, they
because-
can.
No, I heard
They're-
there was something about Japan owns the rights.
No, they're allowed to call them the
Really?
Bullet Club. Yeah. I found that out because I'm like, all right, come on. The Bullet Club was so much catchier, and it was just so much, it had that ring to it. Now it's just the Club, and I'm trying real hard to get used to it.
It's like,
'Cause they-
well, golly, guys, you're the club.
That's the same impression I'm getting. Like, hey,
the He-Man Woman Haters Club.
could be anything.
Yeah, but I really am trying so hard to try to get used to the name, and they mentioned it. If you notice, they mentioned it about 6-7 times during the show to really embed it in people's heads. So I mean, I don't know. It's going to take some time to get used to. I really wish that they'd just call them the Bullet Club and get it over with. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
All right, now back to the match. I thought it was a good match. I really did.
Oh, yeah.
But now my thing is, do you guys, especially? Oh, because that was another rumor. I forgot that a lot of people in the back are really pissed off at the way Anderson and Gallows, the way they're going.
Oh, I heard
and not
that
in a
too.
bad way though. They're saying that they should be pushed really hard.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like they're really dominant and they're just kicking everybody's ass and all that other stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like remember when the Shield first came out?
Yes.
Yes. That's how they probably should be pushed.
Right.
And
yeah, they should.
Yeah.
They should. I mean, so that's why I'm asking, with this whole thing of the elimination, you saw them get pinned.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So now is that going to be damaging towards them? What do you guys think?
I mean, it could be. I mean, I feel like they got to do something different. They need to have some squash matches where they're out there destroying guys.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
it's like
Yeah.
they're fighting the Usos 3 weeks in a row, including SmackDown. And you're
Yep.
like, come on, man.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be on Extreme Rules.
Yeah,
they're going to
a chair match or
wrestle.
something.
That might be a TLC, that match. So
Yeah.
all right, so what I didn't even remember what happened. What happened in that match?
So in that match, you had
Roman Reigns, I think he won by.
Roman won, right?
Yeah.
by DQ.
Yeah, by DQ. That's right. All right, but like I said, it was a good match. I loved it. It was a good pace.
Yeah, it was. But I
popped
just
for
didn't
both.
like that we had an elimination during a commercial. Especially
Yeah. Yes.
AJ Styles eliminating somebody. Like, that should be
That.
shown. Like, we got to see that.
Yeah. No, absolutely, you're right. But no, I really dug that match, man.
It was good.
It was.
good.
It was. I mean, well, that's all the notes I got that really stuck to me on Raw. What do you guys got?
For me, I saw Sin Cara versus Rusev. Are you serious?
Yeah. And lose to
You
and
see-
then lose
a
to Sin Cara.
schoolboy.
That was pathetic.
And if you notice, the schoolboy took at least 5 seconds.
Yes.
Because when he
Yeah.
rolled him up, where was the ref?
Right.
He wasn't ready
Other
for it. He was on the other side.
And Rusev couldn't get out of
And
that.
that's what I'm saying. He had all that time, and you mean to tell me that Rusev couldn't kick out of that? Really? A schoolboy? You know what? I'm jumping on the schoolboy bandwagon with you, Rick.
You know what? For next week's show, I'm gonna have a number from WrestleMania to the following week. How many schoolboys we had?
You know what?
Because on this Raw, we've had 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And I'm telling you, man, I'm getting a little bit sick and tired of it. Really am.
Yeah.
But 5 seconds, man, and you couldn't kick out? Seriously? You're freaking 10 times his size. So, all right, what else you got, Rick? What else popped in your head?
The finish, the main event, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I didn't dig that.
That was
at all.
disappointing.
That was very disappointing. I mean,
I think everybody wanted to see Big Cash, you know?
yeah, they
You know,
wanted
just-
to see that match.
Yeah.
They really did. And, I'm right with you, Rick. I mean, oh, man, I just...
Tony, they ripped up a jacket. They ripped up a
For
jacket.
a good 10 minutes.
$15,000
Yeah,
jacket.
15,000. Get out of here. For 15 minutes, they did that, too.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, they did a segment on ripping a jacket. I'm sorry. You know what? You could have... I would have been disappointed if I was there.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I would have been like, I want my money back. You told me it was going to be Big Cash and Jericho. You better give it to me.
It's just bad.
Yeah,
It's
it wasn't a really good Raw. Wasn't a really good Raw. We got what? One more Raw, right? Before the next pay-per-view. So I don't know. Hopefully they'll do something better for next week. What about you, JoJo? What stuck out for you?
I liked the little skit they did with Stephanie and Jericho backstage. I thought that was pretty funny, where she's, calling Jericho soft and, and you will never.
Yes.
Ever.
Okay. Yeah. I was like,
I did like that. I got a kick out
it
of
was
that.
okay.
So-
Yeah.
And Jericho had that look on his face like, okay. He was trying to brown nose her at first, there. And so I did like that skit. That really stuck out on my mind. It's
Well, but I mean, that's like I said. That's all. I mean, you have more. That was it.
just about,
It wasn't a good Raw, man, and I'm like a little disappointed. I really am. I'm not sure.
Yeah, especially with Big Cash. They just give the fans what they want.
I really wanted to see that match.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really.
But did you
Go ahead, Rick.
realize, guys?
The what?
Did you guys realize all the champs that lost? The New Day lost.
Yeah.
Charlotte lost. The Miz lost to put Sami Zayn in. It was just like, come on, man. And Sami Zayn, he even said it. He didn't deserve it. Why are you gonna?
Yeah, I do agree on that one too. I was like, come on, really? Cesaro, yeah. Owens, yeah, they've been there.
They've been there, yeah, yeah. And then Sammy just threw his name in the hat.
I think they just, we need one more.
Yeah, but I called it though. Remember?
Yep.
Yeah, you did. But I have a great idea for the Miz and his wife Maurice.
What's
Get
that?
this, a new name called Les Miz. She's French.
That's true.
He's the Miz. It was a French movie, a French play. Come on, Les Miz.
All right. It is now time for Rick Serrano III's Joke of the Week. Take it away.
Welcome back to Rick Serrano's Wrestling Joke of the Week. Brought to you by The Merchant of Menace, the 7th book, self-written and self-edited by the exotic one, Adrian Street. Today's joke is, why was the Ultimate Warrior fired from the pet shop?
I have no idea.
He couldn't sell pedigree.
Okay, what WrestleMania was that? 7, 8, 9, something like
I
that?
think that was 7.
Yeah.
7 or 9, 10 out of 7.
Talking about my favorite wrestler of all time, man.
Or 12. It was bad. It was just a bad one. Whatever WrestleMania that one was, that was
Just popped
ridiculous.
right up from that. I remember that.
Well, if you have a wrestling joke, send it into our Facebook page at Wrestling POV Podcast, Twitter at Wrestling POV, or Instagram at Wrestling POV1 using the hashtag WPOV jokes. People, we're running low. Send them on in. Wrestling Joke of the Week is brought to you by The Merchant of Menace, the 7th book written by Adrian Street. The book includes The Iron Sheik, Cactus Jack, The Honky Tonk Man, Getting Married in Las Vegas, and more. Merchant of Menace is available for purchase on Amazon, Kindle, and Nook.
Way to go with the segue. Way to go and having Adrian Street on the show. Of course, we got to plug his books.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, as we go there, Rick.
Oh, yes, Mr. Tony, I'm right here.
All right, do you got anything new for us?
Oh, yes. So this week, I just bought a Ryback shirt, by the way. Also,
On Rick's credit card?
yes, thank you, Mr. Rick.
No,
Just
You're
one?
not welcome.
Just one?
I know, I'm surprised. You just bought one?
Oh, did I say one? I meant 100.
Ooh, ouch.
Oh boy.
So, anyway, this Sunday, we're going to have the SmackDown Breakdown.
Nice.
And you know what? I have a lot of SmackDown. SmackDown was pretty good. I would say, you know what? I would say a thumbs up, maybe 2. You find out by tuning in to the SmackDown Breakdown. It's now on YouTube at Wrestling POV Podcast. Check it out. And also, this week I'm gonna be doing our show, Cole Street Corner. I'll give you the time, date, and the place later on this week. Check it out on our Facebook page.
That'll be next week.
Yes, next week.
Yes, next week. I thought you said this week.
Oh, I mean next week. You know what I mean, Tony.
All right, cool deal. And then, of course, next Saturday we will be doing a live show on Facebook. All right.
Yes.
Sometime during the week I will reveal the time. We might have like just a half hour or so of just us just sitting there for a second, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you come and join us then.
Yeah, definitely. We can do some fan comments. Send in your questions. Any comments you have, we'll answer it live on the show.
Especially because the next day it's the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, so you can submit your questions during the show on Facebook live. And like I said, we'll give you guys a time on when we're going to do it. That is it for the show today. I am your host, Tony Diaz, along with
the Iceman JoJo.
And the third wheel,
Rick Serrano,
and our intern.
Adios!
Love, peace, and hair grease. We will see you next week live.